What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Skews Day to you. It's December 6th. I fucked that word up. It's the 6th. It's the 6th day of December 2022. It's a runoff night down there in Georgia, which, of course, we're going to be talking about. But I'm Trey Crowder. That's Mark Agee. What's up, Mark?
Yeah, it's a Tuesday, Trey, which means Georgia's voting every Tuesday on the dot.
Yeah.
And good Lord, man, they would not hit to live in Georgia lately.
I agree. Yeah, God
I
bless
mean,
those people, man. They're sticking with it. It seems like it wouldn't surprise. I know that we're going to talk about turnout is good. Turnout's high, and I find that I guess impressive or whatever. Because I would you'd have to have fatigue. I would think living there, like you said, it's like every other year for
yeah,
3 months we got to go vote a bunch of times and the fate of the world hangs in the balance or whatever. So,
that's why when Republicans get on their voting isn't a right, it's a privilege sort of shit. It's like, it's a privilege. It's fucking, it's like going to the DMV.
right.
It's like, it's an obligation to always do it, but it's like, it's not fun to wait in line and check and fill out a standardized test. But yeah, a lot to get to. We'll talk about the turnout stuff because the numbers are funny depending on how you slice it. Basically, voter suppression works is a lesson we're learning. I still think Warnock's going to win, but we'll find out in a moment a little bit. A couple of things before we get to the show. So Trump Org was found guilty on 17 counts of fraud and tax evasion today. And I said I need somebody like a lawyer to sit me down and explain to me as like a child how a company can be guilty of crimes, but none of the people that work there.
Was it a corporation? Because corporations are they're their own people, right? It's like a whole thing in this country.
Yeah.
They established that a long time ago, Mark. I'm surprised you missed it, but yeah, the company is a person, so it's guilty. So like the people, I would think that at least be accomplices, but
yeah,
maybe not.
not to be too fair to Mitt Romney, but like his point was that corporations are made up of people, right?
They
And he's
are.
not wrong.
No.
But but also he was making a case for corporations to have people's rights, which I disagree with, like being able to spend unlimited amounts on elections and shit. Fuck that. But so anyway, the white collar is basically legal in America, and it's extremely funny that they had to do this shit for like 3 decades and have the guy get elected president and be universally hated to be held remotely to account for fairly obvious crimes. But I was looking through the charges, and it's really funny that they found 12 people who were like, yes, this highly technical law was definitely violated. The jury says the system isn't perfect. It's the best we can do. But it's funny because I was thinking about that quote. I forget whose quote it was. Was it Mark Twain's? By like
It's always Mark Twain.
Yeah, it's always Mark Twain. It's like it's hard for your faith in democracy to survive a conversation with a single voter, but like you make that up with large numbers, right? In the will of the people. But now you're picking 12 random dipshits to decide something highly technical. It's really funny to me.
Yeah, no, we were Corey, our senior Georgia correspondent, who is indisposed tonight, so he will not be joining us. I regret to inform y'all. He's okay. Everything's fine. But anyway, he just had to almost do jury. He got called in for jury duty. And so we were talking about that on the Well Read podcast. And it was the first time that I had really not the first time, and I'm not saying just because Corey almost was on a jury, that's not entirely, it's not entirely what I mean. It's just during that conversation, I was thinking, it's like, man, the whole jury thing is kind of wild when you think about it. Cause it's like, pretty important and most of us don't know much, but it's like you said, it's the best we could do. I mean, obviously,
yeah,
I'm not opposed to the idea of a jury of your peers or anything. It's just, my peers be dumb.
I trust 12 random people off the street on judge who's trying to get footage by being a hard ass or like
for sure
is taking kickbacks from private prisons to put people in jail, which they've been caught doing.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's just like I like to imagine these people are just like, I don't understand any of this, but fuck that asshole. They're all guilty.
Yeah.
That's probably how it went. So when Trump complains about the jury pool in New York, which is they always say it's unfair to be tried in D.C., which is parentheses because those people are black, right? And they're voting, they're deciding guilt of Republicans. That's all the January 6th defendants have been claiming, and so I'm sure he's going to complain about a New York jury pool, but whatever. We all know he's guilty of shit. Who gives a shit? But speaking of Trump, he also posted on Truth that he should be reinstated, even if it means like eliminating the Constitution, and then everyone actually didn't hear it. Because the Republican, they made a big deal over like the first thing they're doing when they retake the House is read the Constitution into the record, which is like jerk off. Who cares?
Yes.
if you gave me line item veto and the right power of a benevolent dictator, I'd probably redo the Constitution some too. But there's got to be a process.
I honestly can't believe it took him as long as it has to suggest deleting the Constitution.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Oh, I
it's
forgot.
clear most of them don't know shit about it or give a fuck about it anyway, despite jerking it
Uh,
off all the time. But yeah, I'm not surprised he was the one that finally just said, we should just get rid of this fucking thing. Make me king
yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
And so many people are going to hear that and be like, he's right. We should.
It's like they heard that the Constitution's not a suicide pact, and they're like, but it is a suicide pact, and we want to replace it with a different suicide pact. Um, the jury duty thing reminds me. I forgot I was supposed to have jury duty this week because I got COVID. So shout out to
Nice.
COVID. It
Yeah.
also reminds me. Erin, my wife, was supposed to have jury duty a couple of years ago, and she, you have to go like multiple days to see if you get seated, and she was in there supposed to do like a pretty horrific trial of sex crime against children, and she came down crying when they were questioning her, so they let her go because she couldn't handle listening to.
Yeah.
I hate to laugh, but it's like, yeah, I mean, but you're probably the person who should be on the jury.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
got what I was about to say on the Well Read podcast. A lot of it came down to that exact dynamic. It wasn't like a child sex crimes case or anything, but it was all about how Corey like got out of it basically by saying, that the justice system is bullshit, giving his actual opinions, but and Drew, who's a former defense attorney, said he was like, I'm not shaming you or anything like that. I totally get it. And also, all you did was tell the truth. So it's fine. He was like, but you're arguably the last person in that room who shouldn't be on the jury.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, juries actually need more people like you on them, but obviously, I mean, jury duty still don't hit. Yeah. I got jury duty during COVID, so I didn't have to physically go down there. I just had to call a number every morning instead of going there to do the check-in thing. And I never got called, and then it was over. So shout out to COVID.
Yeah. I've never had to do it.
COVID hooking us both up. Yeah.
I think I'd have fun being on a jury as long as a couple of days in just in case. But yeah, I don't. I've never been called. For the show, like you suggested, you wanted to talk about the more North Carolina thing, and so if you guys don't know, there was a highly protested drag show happening in a small town in Carolina, and then coincidentally, maybe someone shot up some power substations and knocked 40,000 people out of power, including locations going to have the drag, and a bunch of people are guessing that the two are related, and they might very well be. And I had a bunch of stories prepped about how like taking out power stations is right-wing terrorists a decent amount, even though it doesn't, like, it's one of those things where when the government looks at right-wing terrorism, they don't see a pattern.
Right.
They refuse to see a pattern. But yeah, it's like it's pretty common. In fact, a couple guys just got sentenced, and somebody pulled some really funny courtroom transcripts where in the chat logs, this right-wing psychos, they were talking about what weapons they had, quoted a Biggie lyric listing off a bunch of guns, and the only person who recognized it as a Biggie lyric was the judge. And so he's trying to explain to the prosecutor that these are rap lyrics. Anyway, we'll get into that when it comes. So yeah.
I thought that I'm not surprised that shooting up a bunch of machinery will fuck up how that machinery works. But there's something about the fact that they just like decided we're going to knock the power out. And so they just drove down there and just shot it all a bunch, and then successfully knocked the power out. I mean, again, I'm not saying that I'm surprised that that it can work that way. It's just also kind of, I guess alarming how sort of simplistic many straight up terrorist actions can be. Just get in there and just shoot all that shit if you want it to shut down, and that will work. And I know a lot of people there. I know they showed this lady who was at January 6th who lives in that community, who had posted on Facebook, all the lights are about to go out and I know why, or something like that. And she also posted a picture of the drag show, the theater having the drag show, and just said something like God will not be mocked or something, but they don't have any like proof that that's what it was. Also, I saw some people on Twitter saying that the Queens went up there and by flashlight and did their thing a cappella anyway. So
nice.
The terrorists did not win.
Yeah, America's tearing itself apart over men doing karaoke in dresses. It makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So, yeah, you made an interesting point though. Like, I wouldn't know how to knock out a power substation because
Right.
right wing psychos trade tips on all their message boards and stuff. So that seems to be a data point in favor of the theory, but who knows? But yeah, the FBI is on it, and the whole county, a bunch of the county's been out of power for a while, and one person has died. It's not clear whether that's related to the power outage or a different medical thing, but like, it's cold as shit in North Carolina right now. People are like going to the grocery store to warm up and stuff. So they fucked up a bunch of people's lives to stop a drag show. Yeah. One last
Yeah, I
thing.
also wondered, they said
Yeah.
that like the
Yeah.
nursing home, there's nursing homes there and they're out of power. So there's like really
Mm.
old people in there, freezing their asses off. And I was like, I wonder where those papaws in there fall on this whole situation. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if there's at least a couple of them in there like, it's
Yeah.
worth it, or if they're like, let them dance. God damn, it's cold in here.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a quote from someone who's protesting. It was like, these aren't like the drag show up with. And it's like, they are. It's so fucking stupid. One last time we get to the show, we talked last week's episode was on the looming railroad strike that Biden was trying to kneecap, and they successfully did so. The House passed a better version of the compromise plan, where the workers would have gotten 7 days of paid sick leave, and sent both versions to the Senate. And Democrats got 6 Republican votes. Joe Manchin was the only defector, but they didn't get to 60, so they had to pass the stripped down version. So on one hand, you could say Democrats did everything they could. On the other hand, you could say, why didn't Biden at least ask them for more? Because who knows what the president could have done with a megaphone. And it's like, also, we talked about, but this doesn't solve the problem. Like, I'm seeing a bunch of like interviews with wives of railroad workers. Like, he's still trying to figure out how to quit. As soon as they get the big lump sum payment for the back pay that they just negotiated, he's walking off the job. No one's going to want to take these jobs. Like, if the goal is to keep shit moving on the railroads, this is not a long-term fix.
No, it's also just disheartening. I mean, we talked about it last week, but it's just disheartening and shitty because it's like literally nobody in government, no politicians really give a fuck about working. I mean, other than like Bernie and some of the like actual progressives, like a handful of them, but generally speaking, like, big money runs the show. It's like, hey, fucking Christmas is coming. You know how much money everybody's going to make? We can't fuck that up. So fuck the whole notion of labor and organizing for, better conditions and all that, even from the most quote pro-labor president of all time. It's just a real bummer.
But if there aren't any people to work on the railroads, this is also going to be a long-term negative impact on the railroad's bottom line. It's like this. It's so short-sighted. I know they're only thinking to the end of the quarter and they get their bonus and then they get fired and it's the next guy's job. But that's the whole problem with the system. But speaking of it all being about money, so about 100 years ago, there was a railroad strike. And the New York Daily News sent a guy on the street to ask people what they thought about it. And this guy, Albert Harriman, you see it on the screen, he talked to him on East 36th Street. He's an elevator inspector, which is your fun job that I think is probably still around. Our government is one with capitalistic tendencies, and since it has taken charge of the situation, I feel that capital will force the strikers to its own terms. So same song, same as it ever was.
Right.
So Albert Herman for president, everybody, if we dig him up.
Yeah, he's probably not even that much older than some of our top candidates, really. All right, let's get into it. With us, as always, is producer Matt. This is Weekly Skews. I want to remind y'all, of course, real quick. Number one, if you'd like to see me perform live, go to TreyCrowder.com. Me, Corey, and Drew will be in Nashville next weekend. Then I got a bunch of dates in 2023. So go to TreyCrowder.com. I can't talk tonight. Go to TreyCrowder.com. Check them out. Come and see me. Number two, if you enjoy this program and would like to show your support, you can do so by signing up on Patreon. You can go to weeklyskews.com/more or just go on Patreon and look me up. Either way works. $5 a month gets you access to full-length bonus episodes. We're going to do another one later this week. We're having a lot of fun with it, so we hope you will consider it. All right, get some more skews in your life. As for the show tonight, as we already alluded to, all the nation's eyes are once again on the great state of Georgia. Will Herschel Walker be vanquished, or is hope well and truly dead? It doesn't determine the control of the Senate, but it still feels pretty high stakes to me on account of it would indicate just how low the bar really is in a lot of ways. So we'll see what happens, and we'll talk about it. But first, the Daily Dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Every damn one of us is the D-Day tonight for not being on the Supreme Court, despite apparently being observably smarter than Justice Samuel Alito. Listen to this clip.
If there's a black Santa at the other end of the mall and he doesn't want to have his picture taken with a child who's dressed up in a Ku Klux Klan outfit, that black Santa has to do that?
No, because Ku Klux Klan outfits are not protected characteristics under public accommodation laws.
So
Yeah.
I know I was so when I first saw this clip. So there's a part after this where I don't remember if it's Judge Jackson. One of the other judges says something else, and then Alito says something like, "Oh yeah, you always see black kids in Klan outfits, huh?" or something, just some like wise ass crack. And I saw people like tweeting about that, and immediately I was like, "Well, but fuck that part. The first part was the shitty and dumb part, like the truth, you know." But when I heard him say that, it's one of those things where I was almost like screaming at my screen, but I was so relieved that the dude just, you know, immediately responded in the appropriate way, which is not surprising because this dude's arguing a case for the Supreme Court, I guess. But you know, that's what makes it so surprising that it comes from a disingenuous query like that came from a Supreme Court justice to begin with. But you've pointed out multiple times on this show, it's like these people ain't all that special or anything really. It's like he's either dumb or shitty or both, you know, because that makes no fucking sense to equate of being just a black child versus, you know, wearing a Klan outfit and equating the two.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this because I wanted to talk about the case that they're arguing about, because it's sort of like an example of how fucking dumb everything is, and also how conservative legal organizations have figured out how to game the system, and with the cooperation, they've hacked the legal system. And with 6 conservative justices, they can just do whatever they want. So this is a case out of Colorado. This lady named Lori Smith, she makes websites, and what she doesn't want to do is have to make a website for a gay wedding. All right. A couple things to know here is that she's never made a website for a gay wedding, or asked to make a website for a gay wedding, or never ever made a website for a wedding at all. It's not her main job. She pivoted from like advertising to this website company fairly recently. And she makes like websites for nonprofits and churches and political candidates. And then this group called the Alliance Defending Freedom, which you can guess what their beliefs are, took her on as a client. And then she added, "I would like to make wedding websites" to her website. Again, no one's asked her to make a gay website.
Right. I didn't know that. I mean, you know, I'm law dumb. I've said it many times, but like, I didn't even realize something like this could happen, meaning like, just some sort of hypothetical situation could end up being argued before the Supreme Court. Like I just assumed, okay, some gay couple asked her for a website and she said no, like the cake situation. And now here we are again. But yeah, finding out like, no, that has never happened. She's never made, she don't even hardly do that. It's never come up. It's just like, but you know, it could come up. And that's worth the Supreme Court's time, apparently. I just didn't even realize that shit worked that way.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Okay.
They made it up.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's completely like fucking like the, you know, so it's like a child's drawing of what a legal case should be. Yeah, but this is a redo of the Masterpiece Cakes thing, which the Supreme Court essentially held that cakes aren't speech, so whatever, we're just like punting on this. And so like, well, the website speech, so we get a control alt delete on this, right? So they go back up and like, look, they're fighting the last war to a certain extent, because probably I bet 95% of companies that make websites would make them happily for a gay couple, because they do the job to make money, right? But there's also a lot of money to be made if you're the one person who becomes the face of a conservative issue.
Of course,
you win that welfare circuit, right?
Right.
So, yeah, it's just it's just like, it's so fucking dumb. And Alito knows his arguments are full of shit. And I just can't believe they bootstrapped this fake case all the way to the Supreme Court. They're definitely going to win. And pretty much going forward, if you want to be a huge prejudiced asshole, all you have to do is say it's your religious belief. And there's not going to be any sort of public accommodation. That's the thing. It's just a public accommodation. You provide a service. You cannot deny it to someone based upon their race, sex, national origin, yada, yada, yada. Right? That's it. Like, you can't have a restaurant in the South and not let black people sit at the counter if you let white people sit at the counter. Right? That's just you can have a private club and let it whoever you want. But if you have a public facility, you got to, whatever. So this is all just so fucking dumb. And Alito also, he Another analogy he used was if you are a Jewish photographer and you take someone's profile photo for J-Date, and he was joking around with Kagan about J-Date, saying they were joking about her being on there because she's the one Jewish member of the Supreme Court. And then he also said, well, you might be familiar with this website too, Ashley Madison.
Mm-hmm.
And then realized he'd accused her of fucking cheating on her husband and started backtracking. It's just like I don't know, man. Just like mind your own business. Let people marry who they marry. This is also fucking dumb. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Mark, I don't know if it's going to help or not, but will you check I don't know, the cord or something on your microphone? I'm getting a little bit of like popping from you every now and then. I can hear you and everything. There's just like something going on. Technical. Now I can't hear you at all. So hopefully I ruined it. Yep. Still can't hear you. I don't know. I killed it. Yeah, you'll figure it out. In the meantime, up next, while Mark is doing that, Matt, we can go ahead and show this video. That should still work, I imagine, if I haven't caused everything to fall apart. Next, honorable mention for Daily Dumbass is Yoo-Hoo for not getting out in front of whatever the hell Kanye is doing. This is not a good look for them.
Picking up the Yahoo and the netting. So for now, he's just netting. I know some people call him BB. No, some people call him Yahoo, but we're gonna call him netting. What you want, netting? Hey, yeah, right after this, I'm gonna say you're crazy. I'm gonna take your family away from you. We're not done with you yet. You cannot cause free thought. We have to control the history books. We have to control the banks, and we have to go and kill people. Also, we're in the So, in a little while, hopefully you're going to take the mask off, because is this actually yay here?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I've got to admit something. I don't feel that bad about this, considering everything about Kanye right now. But I didn't put the Yoo-Hoo together with the rest of the bit that he's doing. So it's he's got a net and a Yoo-Hoo, which he calls Yahoo. So it's net and Yahoo. See, now I get it. I thought he just liked you. I say I get it. I don't have a fucking clue what's happening right now, but I missed the Yahoo thing.
If you watched every minute of this 3-hour interview, it still wouldn't make any more sense to you. But a basic bit of context is that Kanye, in his dive into anti-Semitism, he's a fast learner, and he just heard of Benjamin Netanyahu like a week ago, and he thought his name was funny, so now he's doing this bit. And yeah, Netanyahu does suck, but for reasons other than his Jewishness. So I want to talk about this because we're going to talk about the Hunter Biden laptop in a second through the lens of Twitter, but like Elon let Kanye back on Twitter after this.
Is he still on there now,
No.
or did he then take him off again?
No, he kicked him off again because he tweeted an image of a swastika mashed up with the Star of David. And Elon kicked him off for violating terms of service. He said it was incitement to violence, which is absolutely not. It's protected speech under U.S. law. But he said his justification was it made him want to smack Kanye, so therefore it's incitement to violence.
Dude, this Kanye shit, I mean, I don't know how he can top what he's done now, but like, just when you thought he couldn't get wilder, going out there and just straight up talking about how much Hitler hits for him and the Nazis were cool and all this. It's like, again, dude, as everybody, I said in the video, as everybody else pointed out, like when Alex Jones, that's my favorite part of this one clip is Alex Jones being dumbfounded and not knowing what the fuck to say. He just sits there for a second. He's like, so, okay. Like Alex Jones being on his back feet throughout this whole interview is, tells you all you need to know about it. Like even he was like, whoa, pump the brakes there, buddy. Like, that takes a special, something.
Well, it's not that they disagree with him.
What it is, but yeah.
It's not that all these dudes disagree with him. He's just blowing up their dog whistles. Like he doesn't have the patience
for
dog whistles.
No, I know that. Right. Yeah. That's what I said in the video I made. I said at the end of it, I was like, I'm sure behind closed doors, they would all be like, look, we love we love where your head's at. It's just the messaging needs to be massaged a little bit, like say globalists more or so, and if you're going to bring up the Holocaust, compare it to vaccine mandates or something like that, it's like, you just gotta, choose your words a little more carefully. But, we like where your head's at, you're saying all the right things, but the wrong way, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So while we're on the subject of Twitter, let's talk about Hunter's laptop for a second, because this is going to be national news for years, probably, if Republicans have their way.
I know.
And it's
My
also
God.
fucking stupid. We're going to have congressional hearings about the website where, I'll call that back up in a minute, Matt. I want to talk about what actually the Taibbi stuff first. So, fuck, how do I even broach this? So, the idea that there are going to be congressional hearings about the content of a website where people with handle names like Boner Hitler 420 post pee is stored in the balls, and also the president post press releases, it's like, this is just a truly fucking dumb era we live in.
Oh, yeah.
So late last week, Elon tweeted, "We're finally going to reveal what happened with Hunter Biden's laptop." Now, in reality, what happened with Hunter Biden's laptop is Hunter Biden has drug problems. He dropped a laptop off to be fixed. He got high and forgot about it. The guy kept it and opened it. Apparently, he's a right-wing conspiracy theorist. He hooked up with Rudy Giuliani, and they started shopping this story around to try to get somebody to write about the laptop, even though, as far as I can tell, there's nothing really revelatory on it unless you assume facts not in evidence, right?
Mhm.
So they started shopping around this data that's supposedly taken from the laptop, even there's way too much data to fit on a fucking laptop. So everyone's like, we can't verify this. They actually did give the actual hard drive to someone legit who looked at it and was like, I can only confirm like a third of these files are legitimate, so we cannot report on this. All right. They finally got the New York Post to write it up. In the meantime, the story was floating around, and after everyone got burned in 2016 by a bunch of fake news horse shit, including the Steele dossier stuff, which we'll come back to in a second, the FBI had a meeting with also social media companies, let them know that we have no idea the provenance of this story. This very much could be Russian bullshit, and it's going to be floating around. And so Twitter's like, okay, we'll take it down. So New York Post story drops, and it's a legitimate news source, sort of, even though the Post is a rag. To them, that looks like the same thing. So they blocked the story for 2 days from being shared on Twitter. 2 days.
Right.
All right. That's what the right wing's mad about. All right.
Right.
And what so Elon leaks all the internal communications, selectively chosen, I'm assuming, of all these content deliberations. So there are people who are trying their best, are thinking through stuff, and don't know what they should do. Because it's tough.
Yeah, the people that were working at Twitter at the time, all the internal conversations they had about how they should treat this New York Post Hunter Biden laptop situation when it was banned for 2 days. And that was like the big bomb, the big truth bomb that Elon and Taibbi were dropping on everybody, proving how opposed to the fundamental nature of free speech Twitter is, or whatever the hell, evidently. But that's pretty much the whole thing. Like you just said, people being like, how do we handle this? I don't know. Do we do this? Should we do that? Whatever. And then, like, debating it. And that's pretty much it. Pretty much all it is.
Like, if I was running Twitter, I probably would not have blocked the Post story. That feels like over the top to me, but it's their website. They can do whatever they want. Just like Elon can do whatever he wants. He could boot me off tomorrow. He could let Kanye back on tomorrow. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. But like the examples of deleted content that Taibbi pointed to, and by the way, this makes me depressed because Taibbi used to be awesome.
I know. That was I hadn't kept up with Taibbi, really. I sort of lost him at some point, and I didn't know that all this had happened with him. Because like in the Bush era, I loved that motherfucker, because he was like, he stayed going in on W and all that shit back in the day. Yeah, he used to hit for me. I didn't. It's a damn shame.
He probably should have won a bunch of Pulitzers after the 2008 collapse because he fucking tore Wall Street apart appropriately. But apparently what happened since then is a book came out that he and his partner wrote about their time when they were stationed in Russia as reporters. And there was a bunch of sexual harassment stuff in there, and people were grossed out by it. Apparently that was fictionalized to make the story more interesting, but it still didn't make him look good. But that semi-cancellation sort of radicalized him and left him without a political home. And now he moved to Substack and he makes like $2 million a year writing "Is Biden Too Woke?" think pieces. So there you go. That's a career arc for you. Okay. But the links Taibbi pointed to of stuff that was taken down were literally just screen grabs of Hunter Biden's dick from his sex tapes he had on the laptop. Now, people are saying Biden asked him to censor the story. Biden did not ask him to censor the New York Post story. That's a different thing. If you want to blame somebody for that, that's the DHS or FBI asking Twitter warning them politely, this could be comment, it could be disinformation, right? So from the Biden campaign, people say the First Amendment violation. Biden was not in fucking government. He had no power. He pointed to some revenge porn pics of his son's dick they flagged as an obvious violation of Twitter terms of service because they made posting revenge porn on there illegal and against the rules in like 2015. That's it. It's just unwanted nudes of his son.
Right.
They were posted by James Woods and a bunch of other psychos. All right. So, but remember all that when you watch this Tucker video. Now you can play this, Matt.
2020 election, Twitter did this with the help of the FBI, committing censorship on behalf of one candidate while working to hurt the other candidate. It is hard to imagine a more brazen attack on our democracy than this. This is not how our system is supposed to work. In fact, it's illegal. What Twitter did is a violation of the First Amendment, as well as of established campaign finance law. They never declared those contributions to the...
Yeah.
So,
hard to imagine a more brazen attack on our democracy. It's like, I can think of at least one pretty quickly right off the bat.
Yeah.
But sure, yeah, them taking down pictures of, the president's cokehead son's dick. Yeah, maybe number two.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure. I'm assuming there's other things though that might qualify more highly.
Yeah, this is such a silly little nothing thing, but it's still going to be a big deal because they can make it a big deal. And like their frustration with not being able to make this as big a deal as they thought it should be in 2016 as part of this. You got to remember, like Trump got impeached for their first October surprise, which is trying to get Ukraine to gin up a phony, holding weapons they need over Ukraine's head to blackmail, ginning up a phony investigation of whatever Hunter Biden was doing with Burisma in Ukraine and saying Joe Biden was under investigation. That flamed out. So their second one was this laptop thing. And so they're trying to push it. The only person that get to take the story is New York Post. But people did cover it after the Post did. In fact, someone looked it up and it was mentioned 3,000 times in separate news articles in the run-up to the election. But they just didn't get the blaring headlines they wanted. And they think it's because of Twitter as opposed to no one fucking caring. Because they can't point to anything that actually happened. So, yeah, it's just like, these guys, by the way, every political campaign is lobbying every newspaper, every television station, every social media network for more favorable coverage and more favorable outcomes. Like Taibbi even said the Trump administration was doing it too, and Trump was in power. He just didn't point to whatever content they asked to be flagged as disinformation or unfair and taken down. So, it's also stupid. Sorry, still taking off COVID. They invited James Woods on again. One of his tweets of just a close up of Hunter's dick while he's fucking. He's the one taken down. He got invited on Tucker. We talked for 15 minutes uninterrupted about how this is an affront to the founding fathers that he can't look at Hunter Biden's hog on his Twitter timeline. All right. He also randomly went on a rant about how like everyone talks about these old white guys founded their country, but James Madison was only 17 when they wrote the Constitution. I looked it up. He was 36. I don't know why he'd fucking lie about that.
I know,
36,
right?
Yeah, it's 36.
Well, they just can't help but bullshit. Also, he probably just heard it or misheard it at some point along the way, and he was like, that fit some shit. A narrative that he had, and so it's just the truth now to him from now until the end of time. Because that's how they fucking work.
If he'd said the Declaration of Independence, he would have been far off because he's like 21 at the Declaration of Independence. But anyway, it doesn't matter. James Wood's a fucking idiot. He's also probably he's a pervert too. I don't know if can we say allegedly he likes young girls. So the thing is, this is going to be the next 2 years where fucking like all these stupid scandals. I tried to pin people down who believe Benghazi is a big deal or what actually they think happened. Now, it could be a tragedy or a mistake. It can be incompetence, but they seem to think something's malicious there, and they think something malicious is here too.
Right.
So we're going to be a bunch of hearings about it. And if you don't believe me, listen to this Republican congressman who's about to take over the committee chairmanship.
The story's just beginning, Jason, because we're going to have every single person at Twitter that was involved in this in front of the House Oversight Committee as soon as possible. Well, and one of the stories just beginning, Jason, because we're going to have every
right. So you said because they can, like they're going to have control of Congress, and it's just going to be however many years they're there of shit like this, totally worthless waste of time bullshit. It's like with their Twitter account, the first thing they tweeted, I think, after they took control was something about the laptop. Hunter Biden's laptop is real, and it's like, yeah, never mind inflation and all that shit y'all said you cared about, right? Let's get back into the this dude's dick.
No one's gonna fucking care, man. They can't. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care to defend Hunter Biden. Like, trading on his dad's name to get free no-show jobs. seems utterly corrupt, but it's also the normal amount of American corruption.
Right.
It's normal corruption. But I don't care about Hunter Biden. Hit him in the head with a fucking laptop if you want. Outlaw this type of fucking name trading if you want. I'd be in favor of that. You're not in favor of that. You just want this one particular guy to be embarrassed and for everyone to look at his dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and speaking of everybody being embarrassed because we got to look at a dick, Herschel Walker in Georgia. Am I right? That was a reach. I apologize for that. That wasn't very good.
Right.
But let's talk about the runoff currently going on. Matt or you, we got any kind of where we at right now? Where we at right now?
54% in, and Warnock is up 1 point, 50.5 to 49.5. So the same amount he run the first round by 1 point, but we don't know where it's going to end up yet. So I titled this segment optimistically, "Farewell to a Clown," but put in "we hope" just in case. Fucking, it's either farewell to a clown or welcome our new clown overlords.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie and say that I'm like optimistic. Obviously, I'm hopeful, but I'm pretty worried about it. Just because, I mean, I ain't from Georgia. They got the Senate, whatever. But it's like I said earlier, I feel like just the sort of precedent that this sets and message that it sends and everything, if he actually gets in, is just pretty disconcerting and upsetting in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't say much about the status of public service in this country, right? If you think this guy's qualified.
Right.
And we're going to relive some of his most unqualifying moments in a little bit. But you're talking about the voting totals, because you're seeing all these headlines that the early runoff is shattering records. But then I'd see other stories about how turnout's lagging behind Election Day in November. And I was like, well, how can both those things be true? And the answer is the per day rates are smashing records, but Republicans shorten the number of days.
Right.
So vote suppression works because black and brown turnout is down. So if Herschel wins, that will probably be why.
But they'll point to those turnout numbers, though, and be like, see, we told you there's no voter suppression. How can there possibly be voter suppression if turnout is at record highs or whatever? But like you said, it's just statistics, man.
Lies and statistics.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, like we joking earlier about how voting doesn't hit, but it's true. If you make people do it enough times and wait enough lines, they'll fucking just like, I got shit to do, man. I got a job to go to and kids to raise. So we're gonna talk about some of his greatest hits, but let's start with the last week of this thing. We showed his fucking dumb werewolf video last week. So yeah, Obama did another rally and just is about as savage as you can own someone in politics. Hit him pretty hard with this video if you got it ready, Matt.
Yeah, Obama still got it.
We should use powers for good more often.
Right. This is at a Warnock rally in Georgia.
Yeah.
On the subject of Herschel Walker and the shit he'd be saying. If Matt has it. I just recited the same thing you'd already. Here we go.
Since the last time I was here, Mr. Walker has been talking about issues that are of great importance to the people of Georgia. Like whether it's better to be a vampire or a werewolf. This is a debate that I must confess I once had myself. When I was 7.
All right, you got it, Matt. Yeah, you got him. Yeah, that's a Showtime at the Apollo level burn for politics, and apparently it hurt Herschel Walker's feelings.
Yeah.
He went around doing a bunch of news hits and all his friendly outlets. Remember last week we were trying to analyze what his point was. I made the point it's about faith and then
right.
People didn't listen to the second half of the clip. It's about how you got to have faith.
Yeah, I know. He's telling everybody's like it's not fair what Obama did because he didn't tell the whole story, as if explaining the rest of that incoherent string of lunacy that he's put together about werewolves and vampires, as if explaining the rest of it through the very end would make people go, oh, well, that's good. That's smart then.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. I don't know why he left out the all-important context in that werewolf-vampire diatribe that this guy went on. But, yeah, he's like, no, they're not telling the whole story. And it's like, bro, the whole story does not help.
Yeah, it's like you didn't need to talk about the movie Fright Night to get to a
Right.
point about having faith, makes your actions more meaningful. It'd be like if I was like, I was thinking the other day about you should be nice to your fellow man, and I actually got that from an episode of VeggieTales, and here's a 20-minute diatribe about VeggieTales.
Right.
It
Yeah.
just doesn't. It's like what? Yeah, okay, I get your point, dude. But he also, I don't know if we talked about this, but Herschel was doing a stump speech about how he played basketball with Obama one time. And he let Obama win because he felt threatened by the Secret Service. Now, he was being funny, he's joking around, but it never happened. And Herschel eventually admitted that it didn't happen. And then Obama made another joke at that rally about how it was an imaginary ass whipping. It's like there's so many lies that
I know. I was going to say, it's like you think, how has he not learned to not do that by this point? Because he's under such scrutiny and it's so high profile, and you can't just say things that are, demonstrably false over and over and expect people to not find out, especially once you've already been caught saying demonstrably false things like an innumerable amount of times already. But it's like, I mean, his brain just don't work. Like he's like, it's literally, he's a pathological liar. Like I don't think he can help it. He don't think about doing any of it. It just happens, like lying is like breathing to him. I think
yeah,
it's gotta be.
It doesn't really break through the news anymore, but like there have been I think 2 more women in the last week that came forward and said he physically abused them when they dated. One said he definitely Herschel talks a lot about how he has multiple personalities, but God helped cure him of it or something.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman's like, no, he does have multiple personalities, and a lot of them are extremely violent. And I don't know if she's qualified to diagnose him or whether he has an official diagnosis, but like either way, both he and this woman agree he's mentally ill, right?
Right.
And so those are just some lies from the past week, because he denies all this shit, and I fully believe this woman. He also he said he's lived in Georgia his whole life, when quite obviously he lived in Dallas for decades. This one woman was like, my dad was his mailman for 20 years. He lived in fucking Dallas. He still lives in Dallas. It's like, if Georgia law doesn't forbid you running for Georgia Senate from Dallas, why even fucking lie about it? No one really cares about that shit. And so this article that Matt had up there, the headlines was Herschel Walker's 9 most stupendous, ridiculous, and offensive lies. This is from October, so it doesn't even count the latest ones we just talked about. We all know about the abortion one. We all know he lied about his education. He's still lying about his education. He said he has a doctorate this week. He said he has a doctorate is a really funny line, because he got up there and said, everyone is mentally ill. We're all very crazy. You can trust me. I have a doctorate.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if in his mind, that's like, we're all crazy, so lay off of me about it or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like, hey, everybody's a little crazy and violent and abusive and all that. So
yeah,
trust me, I'm a doctor.
Trying to diagram his speeches is like,
no, I know.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's like, I don't know why I even bothered trying to make sense of what he might be thinking or attempting at any given point in time, because it's just an exercise in futility. But
yeah.
Here we are.
He claimed to have founded a nonprofit veterans charity that turned out to be a for-profit program run by someone else who isn't him. All right. He told another charity lie that a lot of the proceeds from one of his companies went to charity. Everything, 85% of the profits. That was a fucking lie. We all know about the "I was a cop" lie. He claimed I think we talked before about he claimed to have owned the largest upholstery business in the country, when he doesn't own, and it's not the largest upholstery business in the country. He doesn't own an upholstery business. Grandma being Native American for some reason.
I didn't realize that it. I know that white Southerners are really into that. Claiming to be one whatever Cherokee or whatever. It's a Southern tradition. Having a mama somewhere down the line that was full-blooded Cherokee. But yeah, I didn't know that Herschel Walker was on that same tip. But
yeah, my family's a 1/16th Cherokee going back like 12 generations. You think eventually it'll get diluted, but it stays at 1/16. Yeah, it's also
Yeah,
fucking
any lower than that, and
stupid.
it starts to sound like bullshit, Mark. So 1/16
Yeah.
you can run with.
So this is a new one this week that made me laugh my ass off. For a reason we'll get to in a second, but I'm not sure this goes in the category. It's obviously both a lie and a mistake. Let's watch this first Naval Academy. This West Point clip, Matt.
But I'm gonna tell y'all a secret. I don't really want to go to college.
I believe you.
Shout out to all the military service men and women, because that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be a Marine. I wanted to be a Marine. I spent time at West Point, and I thought I was going to be a Marine, but I couldn't tell my mom and dad.
All right.
Mom, dad.
You got it. So the lie is that he wanted to go in the military instead of playing a very lucrative career playing pro football. The mistake is that Marines don't go to fucking West Point.
Right. Yeah. That's the Army's bag up there.
Yeah, Marines go to the Naval Academy, Annapolis. The Marines are a subset of the Navy. All right. So I was like, did he just fumble his words to get mistaken there? No, because he's said this at least twice that I know of and was caught on film. Matt, if you get the second video.
I started playing football as I started to get better as an athlete. And it's fun. I started getting scholarship to go to college. But I'm going to tell y'all a little secret, and we were talking about it backstage. I really didn't want to go to college. I had spent time at West Point, and I thought I was cut out to be in the military. I really, really wanted to be a Marine. So I want to give all our servicemen and women.
I'm done, man. I fucking quit. I know that. The last member of my family served in the military was like drafted in Korea. How the fuck does he not know that? And by the way, he's only down 0.8 points right now. So I guess no one else fucking cares. So he also said, this is like not just stupid and obviously full of lies because none of this actually happened, but it's creepy as fuck. Watch this video of him talking about renting a child so he can go see a children's movie.
And I just thank you guys. One last story. Y'all have kids. Everybody have kids, I hope. You have kids that they love to watch all these shows, and you have to sit there and watch them with them and stuff. And sooner or later, you like the shows, but they don't like them no more. And now you have to watch them by yourself, and you feel like a dirty old man. Like I had to rent the neighbor's kid to go see Jungle Book like a year ago. Because my son didn't want to go.
You cut it, man. You do not have to.
Weird guy.
You have 43 kids, dude.
Yeah, right. Just go find one of them, take them with you. But I think an underrated part of this one is that, like, Herschel Walker, how do I want to put this? Like, well, he really loves kids programming for a pretty obvious reason, I feel like. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's really telling that he's like, he gets into watching fucking Coco Melon or something like that with a 3-year-old because you got no choice. Then the 3-year-old grows up and gets to be a certain point where the kid is like, this shit is dumb. I want to watch other shit because I'm too old for this. I'm not a baby. And Herschel Walker's like, oh man, I was just getting invested in this. Like this, he's like watching them in secret and stuff because he can't process. Look, dude, look how much of a loop the movie Fright Night threw him for, right? Like, oh, fuck this whole week up. He's much better off sticking to children's programming, 10 and under specifically. Yeah. That's his entertainment wheelhouse, I feel like. Now, renting a neighbor child to take with you to the movie theater, I don't know what the fuck that's about, but I'm not surprised in his choice of entertainment is all I'm saying. Needs something he can keep up with.
It's very funny as at work today that this show I happen to work on is hosted by a former NFL player, and he was joking with other hosts. Asked him how he met his wife, and he was like, "I played a lot of football. I honestly don't remember the early stages of our relationship." And this guy has a baseline of smart. All right, Herschel does fucking not. He did start from a baseline of fucking stupid, and obviously can't think anymore. But if you want to, the Republican Party knows this. They know this very well, all right? So I want you just to hear this clip of John Kennedy trying to explain how it's actually Herschel who's the smart one. If you got that video, Matt.
John Kennedy, he's something else with his whole fucking foghorn leghorn thing, which evidently, by the way, is not how he actually talks. I've seen like older clips of him where he don't have that same voice. So it seems like, something happen at some
Yeah, I
point.
mean,
Either way, whether he's faking the voice or not, he's still a cartoon character, this motherfucker. But yeah, this is
yeah. I mean,
this is pretty wild.
he went to like Oxford and another Ivy League school, Oxford in England, and an Ivy League school for grad school, law school, or whatever. So I'm assuming he's a very smart guy, at least on paper. But it does remind me of like George Bush's fake West Texas accent when like he grew up in Maine, went to private school in New Hampshire, and then moved to Texas, and all of a sudden became the only member of his family to start talking like this. Anyway, let's watch John Kennedy try to explain how Herschel's actually the one who's wise.
Dear Lord, save us from the IQ stupid people.
What?
They may be smart, but they don't have any sense. Now, you know who they are. They're all over Washington, D.C. They walk around with Ziploc bags of kale that they can eat.
This joke is from 2005.
I know.
I don't eat kale. You know why? Because kale tastes to me like I'd rather be fat. Mr. Walker understands.
All right, you can cut it, Matt.
Yeah.
So
still doing the kale stuff.
It always found the whole kale discourse really frustrating, and it became sort of like hipster superfood. But like when I was a kid, we grew it in the garden, and you throw it in a pot like every other type of greens, and cook it up with some fucking ham hocks. There's nothing new about kale. Someone figured out how to blanch it and market it in salads, and it is good in salads. I like it. But like, it's like when Obama got arugula on a burger, and they tried to make it out like he was acting like, oh, was he like the king of France? It's like arugula is like $1.99 a thing. Who the fuck cares?
But I know that whole like. That's a thing that I've been hearing dumb people say for a long time about smart people. The whole like, he may be book smart, but he ain't got no common sense. You know what I mean? It's like the implication is always, who does have common sense is me. I know how to work and stuff like that. And it's like another version of that, but also the IQ. Maybe he meant to say the word high and forgot high IQ stupid people or something. Cause just saying IQ stupid people, that don't work, and that part bothers me for some reason.
No, but I think you sort of pointed it out, but he's pretending to be dumber than he is to try to connect with what he imagines as his voters. But I don't agree with the gist of his point. We talked before about how the whole Democratic Party consultant class has too much grad school. They talk like fucking, like aliens from a planet Stanford or something. But and there's also like it was people who went to Harvard who got us involved in Vietnam and Iraq and collapsed the financial markets in 2008. So he's sort of right, but he's talking about like pronouns and shit, right?
Yeah, and being vegan or whatever.
Yeah.
Matt, if you want to start looking for some comments and stuff like that, you can throw up there. Hey, everybody, smash that like button. All right, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends. Whatever, all that stuff. What'd you find out, Mark? Something bad?
Yeah, 63% reporting, and Herschel Walker's now up 51.49. There we go.
Well, it's going to bring us in. We're going to close strong with that downward trend.
Maybe, I'm looking at where the votes are coming in from. I can't tell. Maybe it'll be a big, maybe Atlanta's yet to report or something.
Yeah, I need old John King. Need him to explain this to me with a touchscreen map and much talk of districts and reporting and things of that nature because I don't like the sound of it.
Miami-Dade's not yet reported, Trey. Miami-Dade's not yet reported.
Yeah. I know before we started, you said there was like 35% in and he was up by like 3 or 4 points or something like that at that time. And then it's just gradually gone down. And now Walker's in the lead. So.
If I had to guess, they dump the early voting in first, and then the same day comes last. So it's probably more heavily Republican tilted, but we'll see.
Adam Cuthbert says, I recall DeKalb County always taking a very long time. I don't know.
Yeah, now's the coping part of being owned. We'll see.
DeKalb County has much of the Atlanta area, says Enemy Anemone, longtime watcher and commenter there.
Well, Matt's looking for comments. I want to talk about. So I read this story. This reporter went to. I can't wait to see you at Zandy's next week either. I won't be there, but
Laura Borealis, can't wait to see you at Zandy's next week. Yeah, we can't wait neither. Not Mark. Me, Corey, and Drew can't. They're always great fun. I'm glad you're coming. Anyway, Mark, you've been cut off like 4 times. What are you trying to say there, buddy? What are we doing?
Oh, this reporter went to, I'd never heard of this place before, the Faroe Islands. It's a group of 18 islands in the North Atlantic, about halfway between Norway and Iceland. It's technically is part of Denmark, but kind of runs their own government. And the guy was just writing about their tax system, which should be a very boring article, but it made me furious because it's amazingly simple.
Right.
It's a small country with a central bank that does your taxes, takes them out, sends you your paycheck, also adds in your whatever government benefits you have. You never have to fucking think about your taxes.
Right.
And I was like, why? It's just an example of how we can't have nice things.
Right. Yeah, we've talked about it before, and it's like we were talking last week about workers' rights and stuff in this country. It's the type of shit that most Americans don't ever really like think about because they don't have a frame of reference or whatever, but there's no reason that it needs to be as shitty as it is. Yeah, the way taxes work is another great example of that. Because, dude, I didn't know that until I was probably, I definitely was in my 20s for sure when I found out that, that other countries, it don't work like that. You get a bill basically, and they don't make you. Because I remember when I first got to be an adult and had to do taxes, I was like, the fuck is all this shit? But it's just like, oh, it's just how it works. And then finding out a few years later, it's not how it works everywhere. Pissed me off. Andrea Fox says my 87-year-old grandma does my taxes. Well, that's
you're going to jail, Andrea.
Maybe you can plead mama on a tax fraud case. You know what I mean? And Enemy Anemone is back and says, I do think Warnock will win. So they are not discouraged. It says Warnock has 50.7% now. Yeah, it's going to, obviously, it's going to be changing and be razor thin. Michael Waldrop says, I'm in DeKalb. We heavily turned out in early voting, and we vote Dem. So DeKalb County is now at 45% reporting. Walker's still ahead by about 32,000 votes.
Okay.
We got our own. We got our own John Kings.
Yeah.
In the skewership. Some of our skewers out there.
Yeah. We got a bunch of Steve's Kornacki. That's how I'm pluralizing Steve Kornacki.
Steve's, yeah.
Like attorneys general.
Yeah. No, I like it. Yeah, you guys are doing great. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
We're not going to know in the next 2 minutes what happens, but at least by the end of the day, nothing crazy happens.
I'm going to call it. I'm wrong all the time on the show, and nothing fucking happens to me, so I'm going to call it. Warnock has won. Everybody go to bed.
How about that? You heard it here first. Yeah, it had to be here first. I think that means we broke that because nobody else would, just make it up like we did. But Mark says,
I've seen
Warnock's
enough.
Going to win. Yeah, Mark has seen enough. Aaron McCullough says, who needs the Kornacki cam? That's right. Now, when we got all the Steves, got our Steves of our own.
Have you seen when they bring him out to talk about sports? Because he gets really excited to talk about sports, like all his high-level statistical analysis. That's really when he's having the most fun. They kind of make him do
dude. I totally get that. That makes all the sense in the world to me. Anytime I'm ever on a rare do somebody else's podcast, or something like that, and like sports is the thing we're talking about, or like every now and then in Tennessee, I'll do like sports radio in Nashville, rarely, but it's always just a wonderful time. I don't know any more about that than I do this, but I run my mouth with equal aplomb. So
let me take this one. So Kim Cusado is asking Trey, who do you want to be in the college football top 4? And I will tell you, Trey's ideal top 4 would be Tennessee, Volunteers, Rocky, top.
He nailed it. That's right. Kim also longtime viewer and patron and all that stuff. So I think they got it. I think they got it right. I was furious and terrified at the prospect that Alabama might somehow sneak in once TCU lost, but TCU lost by a narrow margin and thus stayed in the top 4, which I think was correct. USC lost, which put Ohio State in it. I do not like Ohio State, but I get it. I'm not furious at how it turned out. Obviously, it really kills me that now in retro, we knew then too, but all Tennessee had to do was beat the goddamn Gamecocks, and we'd be in there for sure. But
it is extremely funny that Bama was going to get in because TCU lost, but Alabama wasn't playing because TCU made it to their conference championship game, and Alabama was just sitting at home because they were losers, and they were going to somehow advance because the team played and lost.
And they had 2 losses. Yeah, no, right. People, But I get why people were, postulating that it might happen because Alabama, they're fucking Alabama. And it's like the committee will bend over backwards to get Alabama in there if any way they can. And the whole time I was like, I swear to God, if that happens, I won't do anything but piss and moan and still watch and be upset. But I'll be very upset. But it didn't happen. So, hey, what are you going to do? All right. It's December, everybody. Listen, we're going to figure out how the holidays are going to work here at the Skews, but something's going to happen, and we'll let y'all know. But either way, quick reminders again, TreyCrowder.com to get tickets to see me live. It's fun. You should do it. And also go to weeklyskews.com/more or go on Patreon and look me up, and you can get some bonus Skews episodes for $5 a month and support the show in the process. Either way, we'll be back here next Skewsday to do it all again. Go Warnock. Go Vols. Merry Christmas. See you. Love you. Bye.